Go ahead, Chief. Thank you.
Yeah, what do you say to those who criticize you for not speaking out on the situation in Louisiana, particularly given your passionate remarks after Hurricane Katrina about race? People say you've fallen silent.
As you know, this is an ongoing trial. There's litigation taking place. I feel strongly that there ought to be fair justice. I just spoke out on it.
Mr. President, former Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld recently was asked if he missed you. He said no.
Oh, wait a minute. I miss him.
Alan Greenspan has come out with a book, a recent book, criticizing you for being fiscally irresponsible, and they're not the first former government officials to come out and be critical of you. And I'm wondering two things. First, do you feel betrayed by some of these people who have served you and then have come out and criticized you? And then, more particularly, can you respond to Greenspan's criticism?
My feelings are not hurt. You might have been a little selective in quoting Donald Rumsfeld, which I know you didn't mean to be, you know. I respect Secretary Rumsfeld. I believe he did a fine job. I respect Alan Greenspan. I respectfully disagree with Alan Greenspan when it comes to saying that this administration didn't handle the fiscal issues we faced in good fashion. As a matter of fact, we did. The deficit as a percent of GDP is low. It's lower than the 30-year average. We have submitted a plan to balance the budget. We dealt with a recession, a terrorist attack, and corporate scandals. And we did it by cutting taxes. The tax cuts worked. The economy recovered. People are working. Interest rates are low. I'm a supply-sider. I believe supply-side economics, when properly instituted, enables us to achieve certain objectives. One, people finding work and there's hope in the economy. Two, that supply-side economics yields additional tax revenues. And if we're smart about how we manage the fiscal budget, it leads to balance, and that's what we have done. We are fighting a war at the same time that we're headed toward balance. In other words, we're making sure our troops get the money they need and veterans get the benefits they need. Former Chairman Greenspan and I spent a lot of time talking about the unfunded liabilities inherent in Social Security and Medicare. And he's concerned about those unfunded liabilities, as am I, and that's why I went in front of the Congress on more than one occasion, talking about how to reform Social Security so that young people who are working aren't paying payroll taxes into a system that's going broke. I'm not going to give up on entitlement reform, but it's going to require members of both parties to recognize we have a problem that ought to be solved now. It's time to... I thought it was time to come together a couple of years ago, and there wasn't the political will in Congress. And I'm not so sure we're going to find it now, but I'm going to keep trying because, like the chairman, I understand that the biggest issue we got with the deficit are those deficits inherent in these entitlement programs. John.
Mr. President, there's a deal taking shape this morning where the government of Dubai would buy a share of a stake in the NASDAQ stock market. And there is some concern being expressed on Capitol Hill about this. It's another deal involving people overseas that we might not trust. What's your reaction to it, and also what's your level of concern about protectionism in general?
My reaction is that we have a reform process in place that will be able to deal with this issue. In other words, we're going to take a good look at it as to whether or not it has any national security implications involved in the transaction. And I'm comfortable with the process to go forward. John, I'm also, I am concerned about protectionism. I'm concerned about it because if the United States loses its confidence when it comes to trading, it'll make it less likely our economy will grow. And I just told you one of the underpinnings of our support is the fact that exports, for Economic Vitality Day, is the fact that exports are up. And workers benefit when we're selling products overseas. And I believe these free trade agreements will be an interesting test of protectionism, whether protectionism is real. We've got 4 trade agreements that we've negotiated that we want to get passed. And there's going to be some crucial votes coming up here pretty soon in the Congress. And we'll work hard to get all 4 trade agreements through. And if they don't get through, it is a sign that the protectionists are beginning to, be on the ascendancy here in Washington, D.C., and that'd be a mistake. And for people who are deeply concerned about poverty around the world like I am, the best way to help lift people out of poverty is through free trade agreements. And that's why we're dedicated to the Doha round that Secretary Schwab is so actively engaged in. Not Secretary Schwab, trade negotiator Schwab. And we're committed to reaching an accord with these nations so that, because trade helps poor people realize a better life. And it's a proven fact. I'm also worried about isolationism. Isolationism tends to run hand in hand with protectionism. You'll find isolationists are those who say it's not our business what happens overseas. It doesn't matter if there's a free society in the heart of the Middle East as far as our long-term security and peace. I just strongly reject that. I think it does matter a lot that the United States is working with other nations to promote liberty and freedom. Because I believe liberty is a change agent. Liberty can help hostile parts of the world become peaceful parts of the world. Our strategy in dealing with these extremists who still want to attack us is on the one hand chase them and find them and bring them to justice, and on the other hand help change the conditions that caused 19 kids to get on airplanes and come and kill nearly 3,000 citizens on our soil. The best way to do that is to be active with foreign policy. Is not to lose faith in values, but to actively promote universal values. And isolationists would say it's not worth it. Doesn't matter to the United States of America. Well, I think it does matter, and I think it matters a lot. Herman, have you got a question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.